It is 8:30 Eastern time, the only time zone not flipping off people of Detroit. That is Chris K. I am Matt Bruening. On a retread version of tonight's show, we will be doing buy or sell these transfer portal players. We will be picking who wins the 2025 national championship, and Chris and I will give you our picks for who will make it into the 2026 college football national championship right after the stinger. If only Austin could make one of these shows, he'd probably be wearing a home field shirt because I'm not. I'm representing the soccer team head coach. Oh, Chris K. Chris K comes in clutch with the home field. Who we wearing?
Virginia Tech.
Oh, very
nice. The retro logo, yeah.
I actually kind of like that one. Is that the cream color?
It's the I think they call it oatmeal.
Oatmeal.
Fancy.
Gotcha. They're fancy. Might be surprising to some people. I am a big fan of like oatmeal and salmon color. I don't know why. It makes the eyes pop. So, and I'm all about the eyes popping for the ladies. So speaking of home field, we are going to let Austin tell you about a couple of our sponsors.
Hey guys, Austin here to talk for a brief moment about Home Field Apparel, the best place to snag clothing for all my favorite schools and teams. Whether it's tees, sweatshirts, hats, joggers, or pretty much anything in between, Home Field Apparel has retro designs with a modern twist to satisfy fans from Ohio State to Drexel to Colorado School of the Mines. Plus, it's some of the comfiest clothing that I own. Use our promo code CAMPUS2CANTON, that's campus, the number 2 Canton at checkout, for 15% off your first purchase. What's up, guys? Austin here again to let you know about our partnership with Fast Draft, a best ball and DFS platform that hosts a ton of different contests. With the season over and season-long CFF best ball behind us, I know I'm looking for new contests that can scratch my drafting itch, and I think I have found just the thing. Fast Draft has a rookie-only contest called Origins. Each draft has 8 teams in it and is 6 rounds long. And as I mentioned earlier, you only draft incoming 2026 rookies. I know I plan on max entering this thing, and I think it's going to be a ton of fun. So head on over to Fast Draft, and when you sign up, use code C2C, that's C2C, for a deposit match up to $50. Happy drafting.
Couldn't be on the show, but he can definitely tell us about home field and Fast Draft there, Chris. I feel like we've done this show like 4 weeks in a row now. We're going to talk more about the transfer portal. It is officially wrapping up this weekend, depending on when you're listening to this show. I believe it is January 17th, which is a momentous day in history. I'm not going to say why, but it is. Just trust me.
Is it? This isn't some weird like political thing, is it, that I'm missing out on?
No, it's not. It's not. I say it's my birthday.
So, okay, cool.
It's not really actually a big deal to me. I never celebrate it, but it is, I guess a day that probably matters somewhat to my parents, and I guess technically to my kids because they wouldn't be here if I wasn't. But yeah, it'll be.
All glory goes to me.
on that day, yeah, I feel like I'm allowed to take at least one day for myself, right? So yeah, the transfer portal will be closing on January 17th, and we are starting to get a lot more official and final destinations. So Chris and I wanted to come in here, and I will say we have over the past year kind of shifted this more show from like a college football focus. But for today's show, I think we are going to lean heavier into the fantasy side of things with the buy and sell, kind of what your thoughts are on these landing spots for these players. So I wanted to put that out there up front so people aren't, we'll start with like Sam Levitt going to LSU. And if I say buy, and then you say sell, people are like, well, are you buying him from like he's going to be good in Lane Kiffin's system? So just so everybody knows, we are approaching this from a fantasy mindset, and we will start there. I actually want to start with both the quarterbacks that have committed to LSU in just the past couple of days. 2 big wins here, I think, for Lane Kiffin in landing the former Arizona State quarterback, Sam Levitt, and the former USC quarterback, Houston Longstreet, both of them going to LSU. Chris, what are your thoughts on them? And I will say, since Austin's not here, because, he loves to, make us answer the question, I will say a hold as well, if you want to hold a player.
That's fair. I'll say buy Levitt. I just think, the guy was productive at Arizona State, goes to Lane Kiffin. Like, why would he not be a good option? I mean, the schedule probably gets a little bit more difficult compared to what he could have had at Arizona State, but I think ultimately that's a really good fit. A lot of times you get these like bad mix matches with offenses, like Colton Joseph in Wisconsin. Like, man, that's a huge sell. But I'm selling Longstreet only because so much can change in a year. So much can change. Like, does Kiffin bring somebody else in? Like, does he transfer again? Like there's just too many things moving. I think especially in college fantasy these days, you should really play for now. You shouldn't necessarily play for a year from now.
So they have a ridiculously hard schedule. And looking at it, I mean, I guess it depends on what you think Clemson's going to be next year. I mean, I think they could go either way. We've got Shane in the chat talking about, obviously sounds like, they're going to roll with Christopher Vizina. He says, in Vizina, we trust. I don't want to just assume Clemson will have another down year next year. I could easily see them bouncing back, but they start off with them in week 1. Then they get, I guess, probably an easy game in Louisiana Tech, but then Ole Miss, Texas A&M back-to-back before they get McNeese. Kentucky, Mississippi State, Auburn are probably winnable games. But then they end the season, Alabama, Texas, Tennessee, Arkansas. I mean, again, it's LSU. You would expect them to at least be in those games. But, Alabama, Texas, Tennessee, and I think it's at Tennessee, so all losable games for sure. Yes, it is at Tennessee.
Yeah, those are some games that I just don't necessarily love, right? Like they probably beat Auburn, but like Auburn also is a very tough matchup defensively. Alabama had its times. Clemson, who knows? They could be amazing. They could be what they were this past year, but that's not a non-conference game that I like. Like, it's not that Clemson could be great. It's the fact that Clemson is not some Joe Schmo Schmuck G5 team or lower P4 team, right? Like the opportunity there is so much higher elsewhere. But yeah, it's the SEC. You do get some good performances out of quarterbacks in this conference, even with some of these tougher matchups. Texas is tough, but they avoid Oklahoma, right? And Oklahoma is one of the incredible ones. You get Arkansas in a potential championship rounds, which is great. So there are a lot of positives, but yeah, it's not the best of schedules for sure.
Yeah, so as someone who rosters a lot of Leavitt, and I was listening to Campus Life today, and I believe they talked about, Austin would sell Leavitt because it's probably a high point for him. I think Colin said he would hold him. I think I would hold him. I do think Leavitt honestly has a chance to be the number 1 quarterback off the board next year. I'm trying to think of who else is in that class. I mean, we got Dante Moore came back. I doubt Dylan Raiola is going to be entering now since he's going to be sitting behind Moore, which we'll get into. I'm sure I'm forgetting some player. I mean
there's Sellers.
Sellers could probably be number 1 off the board. I think Leavitt will be in the conversation, especially if he's able to go into LSU and do what he did or what he had done 2 years ago, which I do think Kiffin is arguably. Actually, as much as I love Kenny Dillingham, I think I have to say Lane Kiffin is a better offensive play caller as of now because he's just been more consistent with it over time. And Kenny Dillingham's, I think, been good the past couple of years, but Kiffin's been good for, going all the way back to probably, his time at USC. I mean, even with, I always forget what Florida school he was at, but they had
Harris FAU.
FAU, yes, it was FAU. Yeah, they had Harrison Bryant, who ended up becoming the tight end for the Browns. And they played Ohio State that year that he got drafted, and he was like really good actually in that one game against Ohio State. So I would hold Leavitt. I think I would buy Longstreet. I just think he is a souped up version of Jackson Dart.
Okay,
and I think if you're. I do think he's probably going to cost you something. I don't think that he's going to come cheap, although some people may be willing to get rid of him because of what you just said, right? I mean, everybody was expecting him to be the guy for Lincoln Riley. The next guy up, Jaden Mayava, comes back. He ends up transferring out. Some people do kind of get, I don't want to say scared off, but get worried about, these freshman quarterbacks who switch schools I don't even know if you can say fairly often. He's done it one time, but people do get kind of worried about stuff like that. But I believe I was one who wrote up his profile last year for the guide. I mean, he was a quarterback that I was a big fan of. He's definitely taken a hit in our star index ratings. I believe if you go look at the guide, I want to say he was like in the 80 percentile in the star index. Now with the new stuff that Matt has continued to do behind the scenes has put him at a 53.3, puts him in with like Tua and Jake Haener. Tua was what he was at the NFL, but really good arm velo at 58. Again, anything over 55 is above average. 58 is approaching that elite territory. He can run as well. So I think he's a perfect fit for Lane's system. Again, I think it would depend on what it costs, but he is a player I would definitely be willing to buy.
Yeah, I just think in the formats these days, it just is hard to buy a player that's just going to sit.
Yeah.
And there's just so much that can change. Like, I think if we could just move the clock forward to 2027 right now, like he would be an incredible option. But considering what you could probably get for him, just try to win now a little bit. And does he have NFL potential, you think?
I think so. I mean, he was our QB 4 or 5 in last year's class. So, I mean, again, he's with the new update that Matt has done to the star index, he's taken a pretty big hit. And I believe every quarterback in the NFL outside of one, I really need to figure out who that name is so I can stop saying besides one quarterback, has a 70 or above star index for us. So typically players that don't have that don't have a ton of NFL value from our perspective when it comes to the recruiting team, but he had a very high one. It has taken a big hit with this new updated of 53. So I still think he does. So I think he's got, again, he's mobile, did struggle with accuracy at times in high school, but overall, I think he's got the arm talent, the size. I think he has a chance to be an NFL player for sure.
It's an interesting name. I mean, waiting 2 years on a highly rated guy like that is a bummer, but there's a couple of them here that we're going to potentially talk about that are in the same boat.
Yeah. So a couple that we've already kind of talked about when they made the moves, but we'll now talk about if you're willing to buy or sell them. We got Brennan Sorsby to Texas Tech and Drew Mestemaker to Oklahoma State.
I'm selling Sorsby. I think, I'm pretty confident on it. I talked about this on Bowling with My Bestie with Ethan that comes out tomorrow or Thursday morning. And I just think there's a lot. This is it. I don't know how much of an NFL quarterback he is. Like, to me, I am not that impressed by like his actual physical throwing ability.
Yeah.
But I think looking at it, you have a ton of running backs in the offense. You have a ton of blowouts coming. Their defense, I'm sure, is going to reload to an extent where these blowouts are going to continue to happen. And the games are going to get away from him. It just, to me, it's very possible for him to not come anywhere near what he replicated. And with no NFL potential, I think I would just sell and try to get a good package back for him.
Yes, so I agree with you on Sorsby. I don't even know if he will be quite as good with it, which sounds crazy to say, but he's definitely taking a step up, not just on the team that he'll be on, but like the talent around him with Texas Tech, with the wide receivers they'll have around the offensive line. But the one thing I think that they will have that's much better than what Cincinnati had is the running back position. If I remember correctly, they brought all 3 of their running backs back this year, which was a big part of their game this year in the run game. I think that will continue. Now, I know Sorsby can run the ball a little bit as well, but I would be looking to sell him. I don't think that he is going to be a guy who is going to replicate what he did specifically this season. And so I would rather just move on from him and try and get, as you just said, some kind of package. If people expect him to be a top 12 to 20 quarterback, you should be able to get something decent for him. I would be happy to move him for that.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a consensus top 10 or 12, and maybe even a little bit higher just because of like name value plus school value. And to me, it just, this is one of those situations where like if he's just on a worse team, like a team that's just not going to win every game by 30 points, he becomes a much more relevant fantasy star. There's just not enough touchdowns to go around with all. If you got a running back to leave, 2 running backs to leave, like his value really boosts up. But it's just such a tough offense considering that you have all those mouths to feed that are all like legitimately good options.
Yeah.
So
what about Drew Mestemaker? I feel like he's also going to be a very hot name. Obviously follows his head coach, Eric Morris, over to Oklahoma State. And I think Austin and I talked about it on the show. You may not have been on that one. Like, I actually do think it's a good move for him. I think even though it is a step up into the Big 12, like realistically, there's probably 2 to 3 defenses in the Big 12 that worry me a little bit. I think for the most part, they could replicate that offense. But if you're trying to buy Drew Mestemaker, that's probably going to be pretty expensive especially with what he did last year. And he's got at least 2 years left of eligibility. And I don't know that he's, at least right now, considered an NFL guy. So that's also going to kind of like raise his price up a little bit more.
I think I'd sell here again. I'm going to sell a lot of quarterbacks here, by the way. I think the thing is here, there's just a lot of good quarterbacks to begin with. There's a ton of returning guys. Do I really want to bank on him moving up to the P4 level? I think from his standpoint, it's a great move, right? He moved up a level, but he didn't go like too crazy. He didn't go to some big program and a tough schedule. He didn't go to SEC and really push it. Like, he did a good job of going to a school that he can certainly get drafted high at if he performs, but doesn't necessarily push it and stress it year one. The offense could be cool, but it's a lot to ask for in him that first year jump up to perform. And there's just so many other options. There's a lot of buzz around him, especially with the other guys coming with him, that I think it helps with his value of what you get back. I would trade. And like, a couple of these other guys potentially too. Like, what is his NFL upside? Quarterbacks are tough to begin with. If I can just get something good back in return, I'm certainly taking them.
Yeah, I think I would. If I have him, I'd probably hold him because I do think he still will. Again, I don't know that I don't think he finishes QB1, but he's probably pretty close. I know he finishes one of the best fantasy players overall last year. So I don't know that I expect him to go out there, and I think he threw for over 4,500 yards. He had a rushing touchdowns, passing touchdown. Again, incredible season. I don't know that I would expect him to replicate that at Oklahoma State, but I think if I have him, I'm still holding him unless I just get an amazing package for him, in which case I would sell. I don't know that I'd be going out there to buy him. You've played CFF and know a lot more about CFF than I'll probably ever learn, Chris, but I feel like in my limited time of doing this, there is always at least one, if not a couple quarterbacks that just come out of nowhere and are these guys. And that was Drew this year. So I kind of feel like that will happen again. And I still think that he'll be able to replicate it, but I don't know that I would go out there and buy him. Because again, I think you're paying a premium for him because of that.
Yeah. There's the guys that all over the place pop up, right? Like, if there's no NFL value or it's really limited, you'd be better off not spending up at it. Like, just think about like Calandria at UNLV. You could have gotten him for cheap. Minicucci from Delaware. Alonzo Barnett would have been cheap. Wiegman would have been cheap. Like, there's a ton of Brad Jackson was like, a lot of people liked him, but you could have paid 50% of what you would pay for Mestamaker for him easily. So I think I'd rather take a shot, especially if you're in leagues that obviously include G5 quarterbacks, G5 teams. Like, you're better off probably just spending and getting somebody from that level and seeing what happens with that instead.
Well, since we're talking about Oklahoma State, let's talk about the two players that transferred with him following their head coach, running back Caleb Hawkins and wide receiver Wyatt Young. I kind of feel like I would do the same if I roster both of them. I would hold Caleb Hawkins. I do still think he's got a really good chance to be close to what he was. I know that Oklahoma State brought in another player in the transfer portal, the running back room, and they'll have a decent running back room. But I still think Hawkins is a really good player. I still think outside shot for the NFL. I really liked what I saw out of him this year at North Texas. Out of the three, the one I think I would sell is probably Wyatt Young. I just don't know that he gets the chances that he got last year. Now, granted, he is coming into this team, probably is going to be their wide receiver 1, maybe their wide receiver 2, and he knows the offense, so that's definitely going to give him a leg up. But I think he's, in my opinion, probably the most volatile of the three. I would be willing to sell him, especially if someone viewed him as like a guy, because I guess he was probably a true freshman too, wasn't he? I think all those guys were.
He's
so
first or second year guy. Yeah, I don't know for sure. It's funny. I think I would buy Hawkins and I would buy Wyatt Young. The game script is going to be there for them in the pass game. If Mestamaker is good, he's just going to get a high quality of targets. There's the chemistry. They did bring in like Miles Coleman and another receiver, not North Texas related. So there are other, names there, but target share is target share. If he's getting 28, 32% of target share or something high like that, it's going to translate. The problem with like a Caleb Hawkins is you do need this offense to be good. Like, you could be a good performer as a receiver just because of just sheer volume. You don't necessarily need the touchdowns to really get you there. Not as many. Hawkins at running back, like he needs some touchdowns to hit where people are probably going to be drafting him, like in a redraft or starting up. So I still think you buy Hawkins too, but I would be a little bit less by him compared to Wyatt Young.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Hawkins, and I like I said, I remember me and Austin had a conversation about this, and I think just because of how good he was receiving as well, I'm not as worried about touchdowns. Now, again, he had a beyond incredible year last year. I think when we did our award show, I looked at it, and if he overall was like the 8th top scoring player, so like he would have been the 8th highest scoring quarterback. Like, that's how good he scored. And quarterbacks outscore every other position for the most part, again, because everything they can do. So, I mean, he had it phenomenally. I think it would be hard to expect him to do something like that. Moving back to the quarterback position, a couple that were intriguing, and I really don't know what to do with this, with these two of these guys who are both in the same draft class here. DJ Lagway to Baylor. I don't know that you could sell him for anything, and I don't know that you'd want to go out and buy him, Chris, but what are your thoughts on Lagway going to Baylor?
You have to own him to sell him, and I would have not owned him. So I am definitely not buying, and I don't nothing applies for buying, or I'm sorry, for holding or selling. Like, I just wouldn't have had him after the, I would have potentially bought in on him going into his freshman year because of obvious reasons, right? But after that first year, I was very out on it, and I would have never acquired any shares that way. I'm out. And same with the next one, Dylan Raiola. Like, to me, I think he's proven more, obviously. He's looked better, but I don't know necessarily the NFL angle there. It's better than some of the names we've already mentioned, but from a CFF standpoint, he's going to give you nothing in 2026. And he's a pass-only quarterback in 2027. So you're basically hoping, if he does what Dante Moore did, you're still looking at like a QB. I don't know. Is he like a QB? Like, what did Dante Moore finish at? I don't even see him in the top 50.
He wasn't great.
So I would lean, just from do I really want to throw everything in on Raiola's NFL success, knowing that it's going to take 2 years to get there, and his CFF value is going to be pretty much average at best. So I'm not applicable for Lagway, and I definitely am getting rid of him if I can. Raiola.
Yeah, I would definitely sell Raiola. I don't disagree with you. I mean, and the other thing we have to be worried about is what this offense will look like. Again, I think Dan Lanning is arguably one of the best coaches in college football, and he's made a multiple great offensive coordinator hires, but Will Stein is gone. We don't know what this new offense, I assume it's going to stay fairly close. It did after they lost Kenny Dillingham, but we just don't know that for sure. I don't know what this team is even going to look like when Raiola takes over. And I just don't think, like, he's shown us that he's fine, but I don't think he's elevated anybody at Nebraska or himself, especially being I believe he was everyone's number one quarterback in his class. So, like, I have questions about what he is and what his future actually looks like. So I would be selling him, especially if people are maybe not paying attention. They see him going to Oregon and are thinking that, right? Like, well, Oregon's had such a great offense the past couple of years. So Raiola, once Dante Moore goes on, he'll be great. I'd sell him in a heartbeat if they did that. I might, God, I can't believe I'm saying this. I might buy DJ Lagway, depending on how much he costs.
It'd have to be pretty cheap.
I think it will be, though. He's shown nothing. He's been injured. And then I think most people, fairly so, view Baylor as a fall down the stairs, right? I mean, down to Baylor, like, it's not even a couple steps down. That's like a tripped and fell down the stairs and landed at Baylor. He's going back home. He's from the Texas area. Well, I mean, Texas is a big state. I should just say he's from Texas. Jake Spavital, though, is the offensive coordinator, right? He's done some interesting things with quarterbacks.
He has. It's Sawyer Robertson. Robertson was like a top 10 P4 quarterback last year. So there is a little bit of system that could help. Not like system, but like that offense has produced some valuable quarterback play. I wouldn't be against it if the price was cheap, but how often are people going to get rid of a top 2 or 3 freshman supplemental pick 2 years later, getting nothing in return for it, right? Like that to me, I just don't see people getting rid of him for a moderate price tag because of it's like, well, you're admitting defeat essentially.
I don't disagree with that, but I think some people would be looking to get out from him because of the transfer, right? Like, okay, well, he moved, like maybe he's got some inherent value now by moving teams, whatever, and they're just trying to get out from underneath. Because again, he's kind of shown us nothing for all the talent that he has. But I mean, you just mentioned Robinson, very good. Spavital also coached Geno Smith and Johnny Manziel, who were both also very good for college football. Lagway has the talent. It has not been unlocked yet. He's still got 2 more years. I don't expect him to go to Baylor and then enter the draft after this season. So I would expect him to stick around for 2 years. Do they still have Josh Cameron there? Did he enter the portal?
He's done. I think he's done.
Okay.
I think he's just old.
God, is he really that old? I didn't realize he was that old.
Maybe.
He probably is, actually.
It's so hard these days to keep up with it, especially since we've been doing this for so long. I mean, maybe he's only played 4 years.
So he maybe have 1 year left. Maybe. I don't know. What's the TJ Finley's been in college for 7 years or something like that? Or EJ, who's it? EJ Williams on Indiana's roster, 24 years old.
I didn't realize he was that old, but it does make sense now that you think about it.
Yeah, he tweeted something out. I guess people were getting on him. Granted, we're whoa, big news. Interesting for me. A recruiting thing. Sorry, Bryson Beaver, my guy, just entered the transfer portal. He's
yeah.
I like that. He's one of my favorite quarterbacks in the 2026 class. Cameron
is to the draft, by the way.
Okay, I forgot what we were talking about now. EJ Williams. EJ Williams. Yeah, I guess someone tweeted at him about like this is a sorry for taking advantage of the COVID year in red shirt or something like that. But he's like, I would do the same thing. He's got now he's playing the national championship. You think he regrets anything he's done? I highly doubt that. So yeah,
you can get paid to get a degree. You should do it. As much as people 100%. Are making TJ Finley a joke, like he is getting degrees. Hopefully, he is getting stuff paid for. So can you really blame him? Not really.
No. I would not. But yeah, back to Lagway. Depending on the price, I think I would buy. Again, I think Spavital does have a very good track record with quarterbacks. Could be interesting. Again, he's not going to be playing like SEC level competition. The main thing can be, can he stay healthy? So you're going to take a risk if you go and buy him. But I think I would. I think if you can get him, you're going to be able to get him cheaper than I think even last year before we really got a chance to see him, because he did himself no favors on the field this year for Florida. So I think that's where you could get him a little bit cheaper. We were just talking about Indiana. Let's talk about 2 players that transferred there. Josh Hoover leaves TCU and heads to Indiana, and wide receiver Nick Marsh leaves Michigan State to head to Indiana. What are you doing with the Hoosier duo?
I'm buying. I think this is a really good pairing. If anybody can get the most out of Hoover from like an NFL prospect status, I think this is a really good fit for him. From a CFS standpoint, it makes complete sense. Mendoza was like a top 10 quarterback in fantasy. And then Surratt and Omar Cooper from a P4 level were both top 10 or 11 in receivers. So like those are quality. So you're telling me if Nick Marsh is the second best receiver on Indiana, he could be a top 10, 12 receiver, at least in the P4 level for those leagues. Like to me, it's a no-brainer. And I think a lot of people like Nick Marsh from an NFL standpoint, right? Like I think it's just been more like, hey, can he produce or be in a system that's going to help him produce? This is going to be that. I think his competition is basically just Charlie Becker. And I think you draft Marsh or you get Marsh, and worst case, you're getting a really valuable receiver too, like worst case.
Yeah, I mean, if you have them, I'm holding. There's no reason to sell. And if you can buy them, I'd imagine at this point, both are going to be pretty expensive. Specifically Marsh, like maybe some people won't believe in Hoover because of last year. But I think Austin and I talked about this on the show last week. I do agree with Austin. I think a lot of it was probably the injuries that kind of derailed him last year. And if you remember what he did 2 years ago in that TCU offense, he was incredible. Now you're talking about him going to be with Frank Cignetti in this Indiana offense. I mean, I think, again, me and Chris will talk about at the end of the show. I think Indiana's probably going to be a favorite to make it to the national championship again next year. So I would definitely buy both if you can. Would not sell if you roster them. I would hold both of them. I'm really curious to see where you go on this one because he had himself an amazing game against Mercer. I believe he ran for like 600 yards. He passed for maybe 100, had like 8 touchdowns in the game. Deuce Knight, who is an athletic freak, I believe when Austin talked about this, there's only 5 players with a higher star rating in our system than Deuce Knight, and they were all Hall of Famers. I know it was Colin Kaepernick, Cam Newton, Anthony Richardson. I know were 3 of them. I think Andrew Luck was like right behind him. So I always forget how incredible of an athlete Andrew Luck was.
I was going to say that's such a funny pairing.
You just view him as like the, honky tonk, just like, cornbread. I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah, he's Andrew Luck was a great athlete. But yeah, 97.1 star index here for Deuce Knight. If you roster him, what are you doing with him?
I think you have to hold. It just would hurt to trade that away and miss out. And I think you could get a lot back, but I think you just hold and see what you can get out of it. It does stink that it's Golding at head coach. Do we have the OC hire for that yet? I mean, Weiss has gone to LSU. Do we know who's replacing him as OC?
I don't think so. Let me see.
So I don't know how much that'll impact it. Maybe a good bit just because of the fact that Golding is a defensive coach. I think I would just hold, though. I think that just the fear of trading away a potential game-breaking quarterback is just way too much of a worry.
John David Baker has been
he was at ECU. Yeah. I think that's good enough. I think that plays. It's not. I don't think it's outstanding, but I think it plays. Like I think you hold and. I think you hold.
I would hold as well. I don't think there's going to be any real competition for him. I think he's going to go in there. He's likely going to be the guy. Did they bring anybody else in the transfer portal?
Still Austin Simmons.
Please.
And, don't forget about Walker Howard.
Oh, God. Walker Howard still – no, I thought he transferred somewhere else. I thought he was at like –
transferred back. Isn't that funny? He transferred back.
That was a bad move on his part. I think it's going to likely be Deuce Knight, who's the starter for the Ole Miss Rebels in the 2026 season. So I'm holding him. I don't think you'd be able to buy him. Kind of what we were just talking about with DJ Lagway going into that second season. I think it would have been almost impossible to get him outside of like trading a King's ransom because we hadn't really seen him. And we did get one game of Deuce Knight, all joking aside. And again, even though it was Mercer, he did what we thought he was going to do, specifically from a rushing perspective. So I just think it would be very hard to trade for him. So I would definitely hold if you have him. 3 more quarterbacks that I want to get through, and I'll be curious to see where you go with all 3 of these. We had Ohio State's Lincoln Kienholz transfer to Louisville, Kentucky's Cutter Boley to Arizona State, and Oklahoma's Michael Hawkins to West Virginia.
I'm selling Kienholz. That offense he's just not going to, there's just not enough there for him to be fantasy relevant. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I don't think anybody considers him NFL relevant. Cutter Boley, I definitely wouldn't go actively acquire. I think if I had Cutter Boley, I would say I got him for super cheap. Yeah. Like I'm just going to hold on to it and see what happens. Plus you are betting on Dillingham, which is a pretty good bet. He's done a lot of good things, obviously, with quarterbacks in previous years. I think you buy Michael Hawkins. I think we've seen enough at Oklahoma. He's gotten enough snaps. Like I just think there's a lot of experience there. Is he the most talented Rich Rod quarterback of the last
I think so.
Pure raw potential talent. I think he is in the last 5 to 8 years. And Rich Rod has created some obviously really awesome quarterbacks in previous years. So yeah. I think that's that's like a match made in heaven. I think we all saw that and was like, yes, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I am with you on.
You're with me on Hawkins.
100%. Well, I want to save Hawkins for last. That's my guy. I was excited when me and Austin when I saw that happen. Actually, I think I would buy Kienholz because I think you could get him for cheap. And Jeff Brom, when he's had quarterbacks that can run a little bit, they've been effective. I think Miller Moss was definitely not that, and maybe that
Not
kind of
that.
soured us a little bit on the Jeff
Except-
Brom offense.
You know, he had 9 rushing touchdowns.
That doesn't surprise me. It's like Kirk Cousins all over again when you go back to his day at Minnesota and he had like 12 rushing touchdowns. Like, where did this come from? Yeah, I would be willing to buy Connells. I also think you could just get him really cheap. And I trust Jeff Brom. I think that, that he could be something interesting. I actually think I would sell Cutter Boley because I love Kenny Dillingham. And I was all in when Sam Levitt made the move and came over to Arizona State. And I was like, this is going to work out great and everything. I don't know that this is going to work out as well. I think Cutter Boley played better than I expected him to last year for Kentucky. And he's definitely taking a step down in competition. So maybe that will work in his favor. But I have concerns about what he is as a quarterback. And I have concerns about what that team's really going to look like. I know they added Amarion Miller at wide receiver, but they've really not done a lot there. At the wide receiver position over the past couple of years. They just lost Raleek Brown as well at the running back position. I think Arizona State is probably going to be bad next year. And if people are betting on Cutter Boley being the next Sam Levitt, I think you could get a decent little price from him out of especially what you just said. You got him for probably nothing. I don't imagine anybody drafted him last year. So you probably picked him up off of waivers.
I just think you are literally getting like a 15th round supplemental for him. Like, I think it's literally something like that. I just don't know if he's done enough.
I think you can get an 8 through 10.
I just don't know if he's done enough. I mean, obviously it all changes league to league, but yeah, if it's a better price tag than that, like, yeah, I think it makes sense. I think otherwise, like, I'd rather just hold on to him rather than give him up for peanuts.
Yeah. I mean, if it's a 15th, then yeah, but if you could get like I said, an 8th or a 10th round pick, I think I'd be willing to do it. I have very serious concerns about Cutter Boley. My guy, Michael Hawkins. God, I love this kid. I was hoping, I remember the victory laps I did on X when he got a start. I think that was 2 years ago.
It was.
And I thought he played great in that game. And then after that, it was not so great. But you mentioned, I think he's a perfect fit. As well for the Rich Rod offense. I just want to read you some of his athletic comps here. John Reese Plumlee, Tyrod Taylor, and one West Virginia legend in Pat White.
It's pretty good.
This guy's got a 92.1 star index score. The thing is, why I love this fit is because Rich Rod will run him, and that is by far his best asset. He struggles passing the ball, but that's okay. I don't need him to pass the ball.
That's fine.
I just need him to run it, especially with, and I think I put him on this list, so we're just going to go right to it, with my boy Cam Cook coming to West Virginia as well, which I'm buying that all day as well. If you have him, hold him. I told Austin I'm buying a West Virginia shirt. I am now a Mountaineer fan at heart because Chris Moxley, if you're listening, I love college football, and I love all teams in college football. I will be buying myself a Mountaineer shirt because I'm now a West Virginia fan. I love the landing spot there for Michael Hawkins and Cam Cook. I think Michael Hawkins you could get fairly cheap until more people start catching on to this. I think people probably in the CFF circles know a little bit more, and so they probably have already made the move to get Hawkins, or if they chances are nobody rosters him unless you're in a league with me because I roster him in every league because I you ever seen Galaxy Quest?
Maybe many years ago.
Great movie. Never give up, never surrender. That is my
motto.
Yeah.
Tim Allen. Yeah.
Yes. Love that movie. Anyway, never give up, never surrender. So I still roster Michael Hawkins in all my leagues. So I think you could go get him if he's not already been picked up or traded for. I would trade for Cam Cook because I think he will do great things. And I don't know that he'll lead the country in rushing like he did last year. I still think he'll be very good. But because he did that, he's going to be a lot more expensive.
He's definitely going to be more expensive. Who knows if he hits that value? But it is a position that, like, I think we've seen enough from Cam Cook. It's a good spot in West Virginia. It's a good offense. And Rich Rod, like, I think there's a lot of dots that are lining up that point towards success. And I think he could be more expensive than Hawkins, but I don't know if he's gonna be that expensive. Like, I think there's potentially enough doubt in the fact that, like, he stunk at TCU, also in the Big 12, that you might be able to get him and not pay some crazy ransom for him. So yeah, I think Cam Cook's another buy for me.
Yeah. So this one happened, I believe, today, and I am just confused. I get it from Justice Haynes is transferring to Georgia Tech. Concerns me on some levels because I wonder if maybe he didn't get the draft grade he thought he was going to get. Because I thought he played very good at Michigan this year outside of dealing with the injuries. I would have expected him to at least get a day 2 grade. And maybe he did, but Georgia Tech offered him. I can't remember. I think someone, I believe actually Matt Wispay comments he's getting $2 million.
I think I heard 2 or 3 million. Yeah. So this was rumored like last week, Georgia Tech. When he went in the portal, it was like, keep an eye on Georgia Tech. 2 to 3 million was the idea, the number. I think Michigan, I know, who knows, it's all rumored message board stuff. I think the thought is, well, Michigan didn't want to pay 2 or 3 million for him when they already have Jordan Marshall. That's when they got Taylor Tatum, who's also on this list.
Yeah.
And then it kind of was like, Haynes must be going to the NFL. And then he shocked us all and he's going to Georgia Tech instead.
Yeah, I mean, again, I get it from, I guess, the money perspective. I honestly don't know what rookie running backs make in the NFL. I'm sure it's not great. Well, I mean, it's great money if you're like a regular old Joe. But like from an NFL perspective, because the running back position has been extremely devalued at the NFL. So maybe that's a good thing for me. It does go back closer to home. I believe Georgia Tech is like 30 minutes from Buford, which is where he grew up, where he played high school. It'll be interesting to see him kind of go up against I don't think they play Alabama this year. I know they play Georgia. That's the last game every year, right? They play Georgia. Yeah. But I don't think they play Alabama. I was thinking maybe he'd get a chance to kind of rub that in their faces if they play each other. But I mean, it's an interesting fit in the fact that Georgia Tech typically has a good run game. I mean, again, they lose what was their offensive coordinator's name? I can't remember. Zaki, right?
Was it Buster Faulkner?
Buster Faulkner. Yeah. He left to go. I'm
Florida?
Forgetting where LSU. No, Florida. Yeah, with John Summerall. Yeah. So he's at Florida now. So I don't know what that offense will look like, but they've typically had a fairly good running game. And I do think Haynes going in there is going to be better than most of the competition he plays. So I expect him to have a good season, but it was just an intriguing move for me. I don't know that I'd buy him. And I think if you roster him, you're holding. I don't know that you sell him.
Yeah. So I just looked, 50th pick in the NFL draft. Gets a 4-year contract for $8.26 million. So, and it's 1.5, I guess, the first year or whatever. I don't know. That's gotcha. Gemini or whatever. So, like from a money standpoint, like he's making more with less risk, but also I think the idea with running backs is that you want to be quicker to your second contract because you're only going to get 2 contracts, and the older you are, the shorter that's going to be. I wouldn't buy it. The nice thing is we kind of talked about this in Slack a little bit. Off the name, I don't love it. Georgia Tech running back by committee for years and years, but Faulkner's out. Do they give you like a RB1 with like 40 to 50% usage on the ground? Like maybe. So I definitely would hold because I think there's some NFL value and the offense could change. Haynes King is also out, which is he's always going to suck up a ton of carries. So I think I would hold, but I just don't know if I would buy that. There's a lot. There's enough moving pieces, and like, is there a concern that he didn't get like potentially a day 2 grade? Like it's not going to necessarily get any better the next year. Right. So I would hold, I wouldn't do anything otherwise though.
Gotcha. Yeah, no worry. I don't disagree with you. I think again, it would depend on the price, but I don't imagine anybody would be selling Justice Haynes at a discount. Because, again, I think you would expect him to go into Georgia Tech and still, for the most part, be able to dominate. And I don't disagree with you on the NFL upside there. So you still have that to look forward to. This running back move was interesting. We'll talk about both running backs that committed to Texas here. Hollywood Smothers, who earlier in the week had committed to Alabama. Then he flips his commitment to Texas, and Raleek Brown leaves Arizona State to head to Texas. What are your thoughts on these two?
This one's tough because system-wise, it's great, but there's 2 of them, and then it becomes not great. I think if you believe in their NFL value, then you should buy. Some of these moves, and I think there's probably a good conversation to be had about it, like players grabbing money, sacrificing college football production, being a part of a super team like a Texas, right? Like Cam Coleman, like you preserve a little bit of the body, maybe a little bit less hits, and you make some money, you win some games, and then you still are going to be drafted high, right? Like I think guys like Cam Coleman can get away with that. Can Raleek Brown get away with it? Can Hollywood Smothers get away with it? Probably not. But this one I'm super torn on. This one's probably the one I don't have any idea. Like I think I would just hold. I think that the situation is so odd. I would just hold and see if the guy that I have turns out to be the RB1, or if like that RB1B is enough of a value to make me happy.
Yeah, this is hard for me too, because we've talked about it, and I think last year they probably didn't break this, but Sark has always had that 1,000-yard rusher. I don't know, did Wisner break 1,000 last year?
This past year? No, I'm pretty sure he didn't.
So that might have been the first time that Sark has not have 1,000-yard rusher. I could see Smothers doing that. I just don't know. I don't know that I see a ton of NFL value from Smothers. Like he'll get drafted, but it's probably is a day 3 guy. Raleek Brown, I mean, same thing. Like you could see him being drafted, but he's not going to be like the lead running back for any NFL team. Now he is an incredible receiver, is very explosive, and I could see Sark using him in intriguing ways. I think if I rostered both of them or either one, I think right now I'm probably holding Raleek Brown and I'm selling Smothers. I could just see more Smothers, I don't want to say falling on his face, but not having the season people are expecting with him now going to Texas and kind of seeing them as like, the hype's going to get out of control now for Texas. We can talk Cam Coleman here in a second as well. They just added Cam Coleman as well, as arguably the best wide receiver in the portal. So now you have this quote-unquote rebuilt offense with Arch hopefully back and fully healthy for a season, and everybody's going to be like, Texas is back. They're going to probably be a highly ranked team again. Like, I don't know what to think of them, so I would probably sell on Smothers. On Coleman, I think you're not going to be able to buy him. If you roster him, you're holding him. There's no reason to sell. This should be a great landing spot.
Yeah, there's enough CFF production if you're in a C2C league, you can find a receiver to place, right? Like I have one C2C league and I have Bryce Underwood on it, and I'm like, I'm never gonna roster, like I'm literally never gonna play him, and that's totally fine because I'm just gonna wait until he hits the NFL and hopefully hit that value there. And that's probably the same line of thinking with Cam Coleman, is that like you're gonna be able to spot start him for sure, and he could, I think the offense is gonna be incredible if Arch throws 3 touchdowns a game. Like you're starting Cam Coleman weekly.
Yeah.
But I think you have Cam Coleman for the NFL value, not for what you're going to get out of a CFF player. We have one more year, so you're almost there. But he's looked every bit of the part. Like obviously Jeremiah Smith is elite, the top guy, but like, man, if you get the second one of those two, like you're just such an incredible spot.
Well, as players enter the portal, others leave, and DeAndre Moore was once a Texas wide receiver. He now goes to Colorado. I mean, I don't know that you could sell him for much, but I would be selling. I don't have any faith in Colorado doing anything next year.
I wouldn't have an issue grabbing him if he's cheap. I mean, they produced Amari Miller was a fairly productive receiver, and they had a bunch of guys that kind of just didn't separate for a little bit, at least. Like, so I wouldn't have any issue grabbing him, but this is like a throw in. He's not a guy I'm spending much. Like if you threw him in the pool for a supplemental draft right now, he's not getting drafted high, no. You might even have him on a roster and you could literally release him and still probably get him in the 15th round type thing. So like, I think buy if he's insanely cheap or a throw-in. Otherwise, you're not going to lose sleep over not going and make a move for DeAndre Moore.
Yeah. And as you just mentioned, Amari Miller, he transferred from Colorado to Arizona State. I'd probably hold. I think he's going to be the guy next year for Arizona State. But then again, as I just mentioned earlier, I think there's a realistic shot that Arizona State is kind of bad next year. So I just don't know that I trust Miller to have a great CFF season. And I still kind of question what he is as an NFL asset.
I think I would hold to buy. I wouldn't have any issue buying with him at the right price, but it's obviously, I think it's more likely that you just end up holding him in that kind of vacuum. I wouldn't sell him. I think there's some potential CFF value there. Like I talked to Ethan about it on Ball My Bestie. Like I think I would consider him as the top guy, but Ethan would consider Reed Harris, the BC transfer. Mm-hmm. But they're not going to throw to 40% like Jordan Tyson like they did last year. Yeah. So I'm there. What's also nice and a little bit underrated, like from a CFF standpoint, is that their backup quarterback's gonna be Mikey Keene. So like if Cutter Boley gets hurt or stinks, they have an option to go to. It's not one of those situations where the starter gets hurt or stinks and they're just DOA, So I think hold it's the most likely scenario, but I wouldn't have any issue with grabbing him if someone's just trying to offload him just to open up a spot or just is tired of seeing his face or something.
We mentioned to kick off the show, Sam Levitt and Houston Longstreet transferring to LSU. They did bring in 2 wide receivers as well, Jace Brown from Kansas State and Trey Wilson from Florida. What are you doing with these 2 wide receivers?
Everybody's soured on Trey Wilson, right?
Yeah, I think Austin said actually he would buy him. He thinks it's a great spot on campus life, but
I don't hate it. I'm pretty indifferent to Trey Wilson. I think Jace Brown, a Felix special. We were talking about him pre-show. Felix loves Jace Brown. I think this is an offense where you would benefit from getting Jace Brown, and Felix thinks that he's an NFL type guy. I think I've seen that floated around more. I would have no issue buying. That's a really, really deep receiver room. So I would buy thinking in my head, I'm not necessarily grabbing like a surefire, incredible CFF starter. I might think of it as like I consider him an NFL guy, and because of that, I might buy him. And so looking at it from that lens.
Yeah, I think I would buy Jace as well, depending on the price. I still think, even though it is a deep room, I think he's the most talented and probably ends up being the wide receiver 1 when the season starts. And again, I think Levitt will be very good in that Lane Kiffin offense. So I think overall those 2 will probably be fairly good for fantasy. Wilson is intriguing to me. I just, depending on where he plays and if he can stay healthy, because I do think health has been a big thing for him. I think you could get him fairly cheap. Depending on what his price tag is, I think I would actually buy him as well. And if I had him, I'd hold. I don't think you'd be able to sell him for much. So I would be interested in trying to acquire a share or 2 of Trey Wilson. I'm just going to mention the last couple names on here. And Chris, if there's anyone specifically you want to talk about, we got Trey Wisner, running back, headed from Texas to Florida State. Running back Adam Muhammad left Washington to Cal. Then we add running back Bryson Washington, leave Baylor to go to Auburn. Texas running back CJ Baxter left to go to Kentucky. And Oklahoma running back Taylor Tatum went to Michigan. And then the last couple wide receivers on here, Alabama wide receiver Isaiah Horton to A&M. And what was he last year? Auburn, right?
Yeah.
I was thinking of Georgia Tech. Auburn wide receiver Eric Singleton to Florida.
I think the only ones I would buy are Adam Muhammad to Cal. I think that's an interesting pairing, at least from a CFF lens. I think that's a great pairing. I keep defending CJ Baxter on this show. Why not? If he's cheap, why not? Like, I don't know. I think a lot of people, especially with like kind of the impact that like campus life can have on ADP and value and stuff, like they're plummeting it, right? I know he's not been good, but I think there's ways you could justify it. And I think if he stinks this year, it and you can cut bait. I would have no issue buying him because he's a former 5-star that looked just fine at best as a true freshman in the SEC. Then he got hurt. Then he was recovering from getting hurt. I just don't have a problem buying that. I just don't. It could burn me, but I don't think he's going to be expensive. I think enough people are pretty out on him to be against him and be open to selling him for something that's reasonable.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't disagree. I've been a ardent CJ Baxter defender as well. I don't think he was as horrible as people made him out to be. I get that most of his production in his freshman season came on one run. He was also a true freshman going into Texas, coming from not great competition at Edgewater there in Florida in high school. So I think that he could bounce back. I mean, the injury probably, I still think affected him more than he probably led on last year. He's going in Kentucky, probably going to be the lead guy. We've seen Will Stein's not afraid to run the ball. He's had a fairly good run game the past couple of years at Oregon. And I think Baxter can at least be productive. And again, as you just mentioned, I think is the best part there. If you get him, you're probably not spending too much on him anyway. So if he fails, that's fine. Like, it just is what it is. You threw a pick or two at him, you'll be fine. All right, let's talk about the national championship, which happens on Monday, January 19th. We got the number 10 ranked team, Miami, who managed to just worm their way into the playoffs and are now in the national championship. You gotta love it. Going up against Indiana, the number 1 ranked team in the nation. Indiana being given the 68% chance to win this game. I was trying to pull up what some of the betting stuff is here. So what is the over under here at 48.5, and Indiana's getting 7.5 here. Where are you leaning here in this game, Chris?
I think Indiana blows them out. I think I think it's a great story. Miami's at home, very easily could turn into like taking the momentum. Maybe they get a break, or maybe they do something real well early that scores, and they take that momentum and run with it. I just am thinking, watching Indiana, like, this is just incredible what we're watching. I would bet if I can do it, if I can find a decent enough line on underdog to just bet the biggest spread I can on Indiana, I'm going to do it. Like, I think, like, if I could bet Indiana minus 20.5, like, I think I'm going to do that. Like, I just think at the end of the day, I'm not betting Miami, so I'm betting Indiana. Might as well just bet it big. I think they've just been so incredible.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. So let's see here. I'm trying to figure out. So no team has ever technically won a national championship on their home field. The closest was probably LSU, who won in 2019. They won in New Orleans against Clemson. But that is the only one, I believe, that has won a national championship. I guess close to their home stadium. Wasn't at Death Valley, and Miami is technically playing at their home stadium, correct?
Yeah.
So
there's not a lot of teams that like qualify, like UCLA and
true.
USC do, but there's not a lot of teams that qualify to do that.
So there is the opportunity for Miami to continue to make history here by doing this. I don't think it's going to happen. That being said, I've been kind of against Miami this whole time, and it's proven me wrong. So, take that with a grain of salt. But I don't know that Indiana blows them out, but I do think that Indiana wins the game, and I do think by at least more than 7.5. I think they probably win by 10 points. Again, Carson Beck has been fairly good throughout the playoffs, which I was not expecting, and that defense has been very good for Miami, and I think they will cause Indiana trouble at first. But Cignetti and Mendoza have just done such a good job kind of making adjustments to what the defenses throw at them early, and then just kind of putting their foot on the gas and not letting up. So I think Indiana is going to be able to score some points. Not sure that Miami is going to be able to keep up with them.
Yeah, it's just been truly impressive to watch what they've done.
Yeah.
Indiana. So good for Miami, by the way. Like, great story. I mean, they've done well. The whole Carson Beck underdog thing is a little bit weird, but whatever.
That dude's weird in general. No, yeah. I mean, I think, I said this after the Ohio State game for sure. They were the better team against Texas A&M. They were the better team against Ohio State. I don't know that they were the better team against Ole Miss for the whole game. I think they had better moments at times. They still ended up winning the game, and that's all that matters. So I think it's going to be a good game. I think Miami is going to come out tough. I hope we don't get a blowout. I would love to see a competitive national championship game. Last but not least, and of course, Austin not here to do this, and he's going to hold our feet to the fire here. Austin wanted us to pick who we think is going to be in the national championship next year and who wins it. And we're going to hold you to this, Chris. You're making this pick. Whatever you say here, we're going to throw this back, and I guess yours in my face, since Austin wasn't here at this time next year in 2027.
I think Texas will be in it, and I'll lean. I don't know, man. Why not? Indiana again? What is 2026?
I know, right?
Where you could come out and say that and not feel like a complete idiot. I think, to me, Texas feels like the most obvious. They've added so many pieces. They're doing a good job adding like offensive line pieces, not just like skill guys. So I think that's a huge add, and I think that makes so obvious. I would say, just the other teams that'll be in it. I think like Georgia's like a lock. I think Ohio State's a lock. Texas Tech, Notre Dame is a lock. Am I crazy? This Whittingham hire at Michigan makes me think that they could do it, that they could finish top 10 for sure.
I wouldn't be surprised if they make the playoffs. I don't know that I would say
make the playoff. Yeah. I mean, they've added a really great bunch of weapons, offensive and defensively. They need Underwood would have to turn into what everybody thinks he's going to be and do it like immediately, essentially. But yeah, I wouldn't go that far. But yeah, I think make the playoffs. I mean, considering the Big Ten power, like I would say, yeah.
Well, you just mentioned it right there. The Big Ten power. The Big Ten has been, in my opinion, the better conference the past 2 years.
3 years.
That's fine. Yeah, we can go 3 years. I'm
yeah,
fine
why
with
not?
that.
Why not?
The SEC where it just matters more, which they are just talking about the losses because that's all that they do is lose. That is all that matters more to them. I'm going to go with an all Big Ten final next year.
Okay.
And I don't think it's going to be who you think it's going to be.
Oregon, Indiana.
How about them Buckeyes? No, I'm kidding. Yes, it's.
I was going to say
Oregon.
I would have guessed Ohio State.
Oregon, Indiana. I think Puddles makes it there. I think Dan Lanning's finally going to break through. I think Oregon has been so close, and then they just ran into the buzzsaw this year against Indiana. I think it'll be interesting to see if we see any changes to the playoff format because I actually think Oregon was the better team than Ohio State last year. But the whole being on a bye seemed to really affect them last year because Ohio State was not whatever. I don't remember what the final score was, but they blitzed Oregon at the Rose Bowl.
Yeah, it was crazy.
I think Oregon was by far the better team. I think Lanning is going to have this stuff figured out. So, yeah, I think it'll be Oregon, Indiana next year. And I'm going to take the Oregon Ducks to finally get over that hump and win a national championship in 2027.
I wouldn't do that personally.
Well,
if they limit the buys, like the amount of time in between, you'd almost have to add 4 more teams, though, wouldn't you? Like, I guess you could move it up a week. I guess you could just move it up a week and just
you just move. Well, Dan Lanning talked about it the other day. Like you just start everybody. You move up the whole season a week. Don't do it week 0 anymore. Start everybody that week, and then you don't. The only reason they give the teams the buys and do what they do is because they don't want to play games on Saturdays during the holiday season because of the NFL.
The NFL.
Just stop being scared of the NFL. People will watch the college football playoff games. Like I guarantee the ratings will not be that much different than the random Tuesday and Wednesday nights you put these games on compared to a Saturday night game. Most people have like YouTube TV and stuff where they can watch multiple games at once. I think you can do that on Fubo too. Like there people are not watching just one game anymore. Where most people are watching on the quad boxes and everything. So I think people will watch the games regardless of what time they're on, even if there's an NFL game on. And it's not an NFL playoff game. Those are like end of season NFL games. I think some people would pay more attention to a college football playoff game than maybe the Packers Packers Bears probably bad. The Browns Ravens because the Browns are going to be out of it, and maybe so will the Ravens. So I do think that them, moving things around for the NFL is hurt them a little bit. I agree with Lanning. If they just do it every week, I think it'll be fine. But we'll see. I'm taking Puddles. Puddles is going to make it happen. Let's go.
You got to root for Puddles. He's a great guy.
Absolutely. All right, so that will do it for us today. I actually forgot to send the link to Kirk, so he might have been trying to get backstage. I don't know. He's not here. It's just me and Chris. Maybe Austin will join us next week. I don't know. That guy's been missing a lot of shows lately.
I missed last week, so I can't talk. I'm not talking.
Yeah, and I was here. We just moved the show so I could, because I had plans last Wednesday. Because I just moved the shows to Tuesdays so that we can do.
That's how everybody should know.
But yeah, that'll do it for us today. That is Chris K. I am Matt Bruening, and we will talk to you guys again soon.